everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Devil's Advocate Trades Edition. Today is a solo day. I'm feeling all kinds of fucking tired. Got that time of the month going, got pimples. I was pointing it out to my producer. It's like a push start, fucking pause button. It's great. It's fucking retarded. Anyway, so I was trying to think of what we were going to have a conversation in regards to. So this podcast will drop sometime in August because, of course, we pre-record because that's how we roll. I can't make it a full, it can't be a full-time job here. I can't be doing this every day, right before. I've done it. It's not good. I did that at Christmas where I just dropped a podcast the same day. But that's because I launch every Wednesday and Christmas and New Year's happen to land on a Wednesday. So it's the only time you'll ever see me do that, probably. So, I was chatting with Michael, and as you guys had all heard, our 50th episode drop where he got to come on with me, and I thought that was great. So that's my, as I call him, my voice of God. I'll say that to him sometimes, even when I'm on the line with him, just him and I, and I'll be like, "Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret." I think I've said that in my podcast too. He just laughs. But he said, we were talking about relationships and whatnot. And so I think one of the biggest things, and I did launch, so my company LPM launched a conversation about, and it went on the socials. It talked about the work wife. And I was like, that's a great topic to talk about because there's such a stigma behind it. And if I'm being honest, I've been both the work wife and I've also been the wife where the spouse has the work wife. So I think speaking from both sides of that coin, there's always, as a wife, you're always concerned if maybe there's more to it that meets the eye. And you know what? A lot of times, I've heard it so many times from so many different people that opposite sex can't be friends. And I think it's the dumbest thing I've ever fucking heard. I have had a male best friend in my life since I was 15 years old. We have never done anything together. We've never dated. We've never passionately kissed each other. I kiss him on the cheek. He's a sweetheart. He has watched me go through marriages, divorces, births, separations, house changes. He's watched me go through all of it. My academic career, he's watched me go through, and I as him, right? And there's never been a romantic inclination. He is married. He's got 3 beautiful children. He's got an incredible wife, and there's never been anything there. But there's always the boundary, right? Where I have to give him shit if he, if he smacks me in my ass. I'll be like, "Don't do that. It's disrespectful to your wife." And my partner wouldn't like that, so don't do that. But we've done that since we were 15, right? And that's so we kind of get caught up on those little idiosyncrasies that have happened over time, and then we just kind of let it slide, not listening to our partners because we're so stuck in our ways of, well, that's just how they've always been. But instead of creating the excuse of that's how they've always been, you have to stop the behavior because it's making your partner uncomfortable. So I've always, and that's something, and he was good about it. He's pretty good. I mean, I don't give him too hard of a time. I don't see him very often. He moved away from Canada. I'm very sad. He was here not long ago. I was going to go see him, but I didn't get a chance to. It was a trio when I was growing up. So it was me, him, and my best friend, Tony. And so us 3 always hung out and did things and carried on our merry way. But anyway, so that's kind of part of it, is that the opposite sex can get along, can be good friends, and can establish lasting friendships. A friendship is a type of relationship, so let's not get confused because everyone's like relationships. But also as the work wife. I've been a work wife in legal firms. I've been a work wife in construction firms. And I will tell you right now, it's just, to me, it is an access pass for the wife, because if any of you men are going to be honest with your wives, half the time you listen to them, half the time you don't. So if a wife is smart, she knows that if she's going to get through to you, she's got to go through the person that you feel is less threatening, which that sounds horrible, but it's true. I'll give you an example. When I was in a relationship with my kids' dad, and I would tell him all these things that he needed to do with the business, being that I was one of the, one of his higher up administrators in the business, going through everything, making sure everything was hunky dory, telling him how he needed to establish his books better, this, that, and the other thing. He was moving into bigger realms, more money, more problems, blah, blah, blah. So I was giving him advice on how to move these forward based on all of the education that I was obtaining, as well as, asking the professionals in those industries of what would be the best protocol for him to move forward. And he didn't listen to me. I tried to have the conversation at work. I tried to have the conversation at home. I tried to have the conversation when we were out for dinner, and he didn't hear me. So I finally got pissed off, and I called up the secretary, who is like his right hand. And I said, "I need you to do this. This is what we need. He needs to get on it." It was anything from doctor's appointments to checking his blood pressure to how he was going to be doing accounting, separating certain expenditures, all of it. And she did. And you know what? He listened and he did it. And to me, it was like two birds, one stone. So I didn't care because I just needed him to hear it and do it. And I was more than happy to have her execute it. I didn't believe that anything was going on. I utilized her in the best way possible, which was he doesn't see her as the typical nagging other half that's just telling you what to do and how to do it, because that's most men see a lot of their wives, not all men, but most. And he was listening to his secretary that seemed to be making a lot of sense. But I was the person behind that. So I didn't take offense when he listened to her. I needed him to hear it. I needed him to do these things. So I relied on that person to do it for me. And then also when I was the work wife for somebody, I always checked in with the wife. I knew when their anniversaries were. I made sure gifts were picked up. I made sure she knew she mattered. I made sure that she could get a hold of me. I gave her my personal number and said, if there's any problems, if you're worried, call me. And she would. She was like, I'm trying to get a hold of him. He's got an appointment that we're supposed to be going to. I can't reach him. I'm like, he's in a meeting. Let me go get him. And I'd knock on the door and I didn't care if I got yelled at. I was like, your wife is trying to get a hold of you. It's important. What would you like me to say? Or can you please take the call? And a lot of times he would come out and take the call and he would just say, I'm in a meeting. I'll be like 20 minutes. I'm sorry. And that was it. And then it was done. But then she knew I was her ally. And that's what it's supposed to be. You're supposed to be the ally for both sides. You're the buffer in between that side, whether you're as the wife, you need to recognize that men need more than just one person telling him it. And it's got to kind of come from the comrade at work that knows his routine and understands what he goes through. And then the other side of that is, as the work wife, you need to be able to know that you're the buffer between the two of them. That if the wife needs something or the husband needs something, within reason, make that work. Show her you're not a threat, because a lot of women are insecure because unfortunately the men that we choose make us insecure in some way. Sometimes it's our own internal insecurity. So I'm not saying it's men's fault. I'm saying that our own internal insecurities are heightened when you're dating a man that's of value. Okay. The minute you start dating a high valued man, when I say high valued, I don't mean he's worth a whole bunch of money. I mean that he carries himself well. He's nice looking. He's fun. He's easygoing. What goes on behind closed doors, we don't know, but his professional persona is high value in the eyes of many. Now, maybe he has us fooled. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe she has us fooled. Maybe she doesn't. But in the grand scheme of things, we're all supposed to work cohesively together in some way and make sure that that the husband's not worried that we're going to do something and that the wives aren't worried that we're going to do something. So being a woman is so difficult in these fields. Like, we're really good at our jobs. And if you are the woman that's the high powered, high qualified woman in the working relationship where you're the working wife, he can't, so many lawyers need those assistants to keep them on track, to know their schedule, to know what clients they have. Same with doctors and nurses. They all need those people. Now, some assistants are male and some of the, doctors and lawyers are female. Regardless, do internal affairs happen or extramarital affairs happen in these workplaces? Yeah, absolutely they do. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that they don't happen. That's just a load of shit. So we know they happen. But what everybody needs to remember is, regardless of what's going on in your relationship, there's two things I always look at when someone said, well, he's sleeping with the secretary, and it was just like so fucking cliche, right? And I'm just like, okay, so are you angry that he stepped out, or are you angry that he didn't give you a choice? Because that's what I want everybody to pay attention to. Are you mad because you feel like you lost your spouse to somebody and she took your man or he took your wife or whatever the fucking case may be? Or are you mad because you didn't get to choose? They stole that choice from you. Because when you cheat on somebody, you steal their choice, because now you're compromising them if you're going to come home and still sleep with them. If you're not sleeping together, then I think there's a lot more to have a conversation about. Like, maybe you need to do this in a different way. Maybe you need to establish boundaries and talk about a separation inside the home. If that's, because let's be honest, most people are living paycheck to paycheck. It's not like people are running out to buy new houses. So, and rent's ridiculous, especially if you're in Alberta. They don't have a rental cap, so that's garbage. They should have a rental cap, especially with all these politicians running around out here. Anyway, just kidding. No, I'm not. So regardless of that, I just feel like there needs to be more onus on the people that are giving vows to another person that are stepping out on them. I'm not going to lie to you. I remember being in a relationship once in my life where I strongly considered stepping out because I was so unhappy and so angry, and I was scared because the person put me in a position to be scared to walk away and leave. And kids are a part of the equation, and you get scared. Did I actually cheat? No, I didn't physically cheat with anybody. Emotionally, I was gone. I'd been gone for years emotionally, and I was really quite upset about life. But I can tell you, when they always say, when a woman knows, she knows. And most of the time she does. If she stays into a situation, you'll know, because she's tapped out. If a woman is tapped out and she is not making your dinner, or she's not making your lunches, or she's not talking to you the same, or she's not doing things for you that she normally would, normally is an indication. Now, if she's still doing all the things but gives you the cold shoulder, that's also an indication that she's checked out. Because some people say, oh, not quite. Oh, no. There's still women that will happily go through the motions, and men that will happily go through the motions of the day-to-day, but have no emotional attachment. They'll be cordial. Hi, how's it going? How was your day? That's good. Maybe a kiss on the cheek, maybe a hug, maybe. I know that near the end of my relationship, I stopped. Like, there was no interaction, like, at all. Like, it was like, I don't think I said too much, but I made my kids a focal point. It was everything. We were in activities. We were out all the time. We were going to my mom's. We were going to BC. We were doing all kinds of things. My kids were my escape. And that was it. Right. So I think when it comes to relationships in the work-wife situation, and also I think the one thing that a lot of people don't talk about is the majority of work wives are actually male to male. So it's like, you ask a guy and you're like, who's your work wife? And it's like, oh, his name's Ron. He's 46 years old. He's a grumpy fuck, but he knows everything about me to my coffee order, And some women are like, oh, because a lot of times that happens too, where I think it's really funny, where I've had someone come and ask me about a work wife and I start laughing and I'm like, well, his work wife is his foreman, which is a male, and they do everything together and they know everything about each other. So if I need to find one, I call the other. So that's how that works. I'm not really sure why you would think there's something going on. Because I've had women call me in companies where they're like, I think my spouse is having an affair. And I'm like, with who? And it's like a unisex name, like Jamie, where they're not really sure, or Taylor. And I'm like, oh, well, that's a male. Or, oh, well, that's a female to female. Oh, that's a female. And they're like, and I'm like, yeah. Is there something going on that maybe you need to have a conversation with your spouse with? The other thing I will do is I will protect my employees if they're having an extramarital affair. First thing I do is make them sign off on a whole bunch of paperwork that basically says the company has nothing to do with this. You're two grown-ass adults and you've made a decision to do this. Company has nothing to do with it. Unless there is any type of retaliation, or unless there is any type of abuse of power or harassment, then you bring it to the company, and then one or both will be fired. It's quite simple. And it's very well written out. And then I'm going to give my little shout out, kudos to that, because the person that put me on to relationships in the workplace was Eleanor Culver with Real HR. She's the one who put me on to that. And she was the one who kind of gave me the templated idea of how it needs to be written. Now, since then, I've gone through lots of case law and looked at lots of different things and then reformatted it. But she's my guru. So if any of you larger conglomerates are looking for an HR specialist that comes in as a consultant and helps you, she's it, man. Go find Elle. She's amazing. I just sell the documents online. So if you need documents to start your shit up, then you go to my site, lpmenterprises.net, and you find all your safety and all your HR stuff, which is what Michael and I talked about when we launched. So I'll sidebar that one, but I'll circle back to that. But those are things that I look at. And then you have to protect your staff still. So if there is an extramarital affair going on and you know about it, and the employees have signed off about it, there's also a confidentiality. You don't want any heat at your job, right? Your place of business. So I'm not going to be running out telling people, hey, by the way, these two people in my company are sleeping with each other, like tell their spouses. That's up to their spouses. But now if their spouses come to the workplace and they look like they know, I will meet them at the door and be like, not here, you're not. So there's still an element for me to protect. Do I agree with what's happening? I don't have to agree or disagree. What they do on their own time is not my fucking problem. I don't care. They're off the clock. So as long as it doesn't impact my business, as in these two working alongside each other, which usually most people are pretty smart enough to do it. Like there's at least like a few degrees of separation between them, as in like one works in like one department and the other works in another department, which works out well. You shouldn't really have you should always, if you're going to, people are always like, you shouldn't shit where you eat. Well, here's fun fact. You spend the majority of your time with the people at work. So if you're both single and you're spending 8 to 10 hours a day with the same person, I think there's probably a good chance that there's going to be some sort of relationship or feelings that get developed if you're single. You know, sometimes it happens when you're not single and then you're in the no space. But that turns into how unhappy are you at home? How unhappy are you with yourself? Or how much of a dick are you? And that goes for men and women, because I always get pissed off when everyone's like, oh, the men do this. Women do it too. Women utilize their power. Women do all the same things. It's not just, tailored to men. So working in a top heavy male industry, do I see more men do it? Sure, I do. But I also see women swinging their dick around too. Let's just say it that way. And I mean, we've always made jokes. Like, I remember I used to make jokes all the time with the guys. I used to be like, they'd be like, Lisa, do you have a dick in your pants? And I was like, I'm like, I'd scare you if you saw it. It just fly out and like just slap you. And they were like, they'd all be like, you're so rude. And I'm like, I mean, if you're going to ask the question, be careful, but, and then some people would say, well, you can't do that. It's HR. It's inappropriate, blah, blah, blah. Nowadays, would I say that to people? Well, probably not. Depends on who my audience is and who's within like ear range of hearing that type of language, because it's kind of frowned upon now. And I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing that it's frowned upon. I mean, you don't want to offend anybody. You don't want to make anybody uncomfortable at work. But I've always been pretty silly, so I don't care. And because I've got a thicker skin and guys can say just about anything. I mean, God, when I was in high school, I was like called a lesbian, and I used to be like, yeah, you better hold on to your girlfriend real tight. Like, I didn't care. I'm not a lesbian. Even if I was, who gives a shit? But it doesn't bother me when people come at me. I think that that's what happens when you're born in a generation where roasting is kind of like our pastime. And it also is it's also an element of like, this is going to sound horrible, but like, it's like a love language because it shows you're quick-witted. So if you're quick-witted and quick on your feet, then there's certain people you get along with really well because they are as well. But when you're like, I mean, I have lots of friends that are a little bit more sensitive and they don't want me to talk to them like that, or they don't banter with me well. So I don't banter with them because I respect the relationship. I value them as a friend. So they don't tolerate Lisa's bantering and shenanigans. So Lisa doesn't talk to them like that. They get a like a Lisa light. I don't know, like it's version. I'm still the same silly person, but I just, you just pay attention to what you say and how you say it. What else is there? Okay, so there's that. I think I'm done talking about that. If you guys want me to do another expose on the work wife, you let me know. But being in both sides of it, I think that when it comes down to extramarital affairs, that comes down to the person that's cheating, and they need to admit to themselves why they're cheating. So. And I don't think that, and the person that's on the other side of that needs to stop blaming the other person and start making your person take responsibility, because I fucking hate that shit. I've been the victim of being cheated on, and you want to do this is what I did. This is so funny. So a lot of people have seen The Other Woman, where Cameron Diaz is having an affair with Leslie Mann's husband. These are the name of the real actors, not the character. And then they find another one and they all become friends. I did that when I was 17. I found out that the guy I was dating had 2 other girls he was sleeping with. I wasn't sleeping with them because I was 17. I waited. I was a good girl. But he was sleeping with 2 other girls. And I found out who they were, and I invited them out for drinks to Earl's. And they met me. They're both a little bit scared. I'm like, I'm going to a public place. I'm not going to fucking hurt you. They're both a little bit scared to meet up with me, but they did. One became one of my very good friends for a long, long time. We haven't talked in a long time, but I know she's doing well. Last time I checked, she's married, got beautiful children, and she's doing well. The other one kind of fell off. I don't know where she went or what she did, but we were all friends and we all talked and we had a great time. And we had one thing. We had a common denominator, which was a piece of shit dude that brought all of these really amazing women together that could just talk and laugh and carry on and find out what they had in common and what they didn't. And that's what I think should happen more and more. I think people need to stop being so fucking insecure and blaming everybody else, like finger pointing, and just say, okay, my person did this. Why? And especially if you have kids, because a lot of times people will stay with that person. And the last thing you want is, the only time as a parent, as a woman or a mother that I would ever go after somebody else is if it's affecting my children. Right? So my ex is with somebody. And from what I understand, she's very sweet. She's very sweet. She's very kind. There's a lot of things around that I've questioned in my own time, where I'm just like, maybe don't really care. At the end of the day, he deserves to be happy. She deserves to be happy. She seems to be quite involved with my son. My daughter doesn't really go very often, but she's seen my daughter many times. I made sure to make a huge frames for my ex for his house of my kids, of our kids. So he has pictures of them, and not just like, because you know how like a lot of guys will just have the baby pictures. They don't have any other pictures. Well, I make these large frames of the kids and as they grow. So he has baby pictures, toddler pictures, all of the pictures, all that he needs, all like in like these great big collages that I have professionally made for him for the kids. And so she knows what the kids look like, especially Tyler, because she sees them all the time. And then she doesn't know but then she would know what Joss looks like. Well, apparently a couple of times there were a couple of outings where Jocelyn felt like she was just getting completely judged and looked down by her. She didn't say anything and she got upset. And I looked at my daughter and I said, well, that's a conversation you need to have with your dad. I can't get involved with that. She hasn't done anything to you that would warrant me getting involved. If that's how you feel, that's a conversation with your father. And she went and had a conversation with her dad and he was quite receptive. So that's good. You know, like whatever. So those are things that like you need to encourage your kids to stand on their own 2 feet. You can't fight all their battles and you have to let their other parent succeed or fail in that moment with them. So if you think the person is a complete and utter idiot, then let them have the opportunity to show your kids that. Now, he surprised her and he right away responded and did what he needed to do to make sure that he let his current significant other know that that was something that upset his daughter. I know that her dad would like to see her more and spend more time with her. But, you know, I can't take away what she knows, what she's seen, what she feels and what, you know, and you know, what she thinks about the whole thing. Those are her feelings. I'm not going to undermine them. I'm not going to invalidate them. I'm sure not going to pull the 1980s. That's your father. You only have one father. You better be nice. Because for me, I'm 100% in the mindset of why does my child feel this way? If I'm sitting there going, you know, I've had my problems with your dad, but that has nothing to do with you. Your dad loves you. If you want to go spend time with him, you can go spend time with him. She has an open-end ticket to go to her dad's whenever she wants, however she wants, and she chooses not to. Then that, as a mother and as a parent and as a woman, I need to respect and say, okay, when you're ready, you'll go. Maybe when she's 20, that relationship will evolve to something else. Maybe she'll feel in a more comfortable and more confident position to go and have those conversations or to go and spend time with her dad. But right now, she's in a current point in her life where she's content being just with mom. And I'm not going to push her on that. My son gets along fine with his dad. He loves going to dad, spends a couple weeks there. He's perfectly content. So to me, there's a drop between him and Jocelyn. I know what a lot of it is. It's not all of your guys' business, and I'm sure not going to air it out, but it's their thing, and they got to figure it out. So that's where I say, as parents, as all of these things, you know, you need to. Do I think that there was an extramarital affair that might have happened? Sure, I do. Matter of fact, I was told about a few of them by other people in industry. Do I care? Not overly. My biggest anger point about it was not that he cheated. It was that he robbed the position from me to say whether or not I wanted to stay and try and work it out and accept his infidelity or even open my body up to that. Because normally when you're in a relationship, you're not really using protection, especially if you've had kids with them. So that's also robbing my health if you're sleeping with other people, because they always say whoever you sleep with, you're sleeping with all the other people they slept with on some level. So I think that was my biggest point of contention. And I think that should be everybody's point of contention when they find out they're cheated on, is not the other person or whatever. It's the fact that the person that you're with robbed you of the decision to protect yourself, your body, your mind. That's where you should be upset about, and just be like, well, you do you, and then let it go. Let it go. Like, it's like, life's so short. Don't be fucking angry, especially when you have kids. Like, God, I don't understand the fighting with kids. It never makes sense to me. And all the people that hold divorces. I was talking to my producer about this comic. I was telling him, I said, it was really funny because there's a comic that came on. Oh, you know, I can't remember his name. He's newer. He's funny. Titan. I think his name is Titan. Chris Titan, maybe. I think. Anyway, super funny guy. He was talking about the separation or his divorce that he was going through with his ex. Okay. Very tumultuous, very toxic divorce. And he said oh, you know, he's like, I'm going through this divorce. He said he was still going through a divorce or whatnot. Or no, he had just finished whatever. And this guy had said, yeah, I had a really bad divorce. And he goes, oh yeah, how long was your divorce? And the guy goes, 1.5 years. And he goes, oh, that's fucking cute. And I burst out laughing. I was 5.5 years. He was like 9. I've heard people 13 and up. And I just started laughing because I was like, yeah, 1.5 years. What a fucking cakewalk. Like, I mean, that sounds like shit, but it's true. I mean, I had an amicable divorce, like legal divorce that took 2.5 years, but it was completely amicable. There was no fighting. It was almost like the lawyers were fucking dragging it out. That's why when he was like, he puts his middle finger up the comic and he's like, for any family lawyers here, yeah, fuck you. And I started laughing and I was like, kinda, yeah. Because it almost feels like they want to drag it out and they want to get you all pissed off and wound up and so that they can make more money off you. Because everyone knows that in divorce, the lawyers win. So it's better to just like call it quits, create your decisions on what you guys want to do and fucking just do it because it's so stupid. I mean, in trades, and trades is huge. Like I talk about construction trades, but there's policing as a trade. There's hairdressers, there's cooks, there's all kinds of trades that exist inside the trade space. And so they all have, you know, like a lot of them have like high mental health, high suicide, because they're doing the same thing day in, day out. I mean, hairdressers I love to death. I mean, they know like all the gossip. Have you ever actually like just sat down with a hairdresser? I have a friend who's a hairdresser and I love her to death. And my best friend was a hairdresser for years. And the amount of fucking gossip these women have is insane. But you have to be a trusted ally for them to tell you anything. Otherwise, you can't be running around fucking telling people's fucking dirt, right? So I'm going to say that sadly, I was not always a trusted ally because I do have, as my dad would say in the Caribbean culture, a mouth that's got a tear. So that's what he'd say, you mouth got tear. And I was like, uh-oh. So in fairness, you know, they didn't tell me everything because I was kind of one of those people that was like, oh my God. Like even my significant other, he's always like, I know all your secrets. I know like everybody's fucking secret. I'm like, I know. But he's a vault. He won't tell anybody. And if he does, I might cut him. Just kidding. No, I'm not. So anyway, he knows. But still, I mean, like for me, I don't really have secrets. That's for me, like me personally, I don't really have secrets. Everybody else around me has secrets. I don't have secrets because to me, secrets get you in trouble. Those are people utilize against you. Secrets are created to make you feel shame. Like you shouldn't do that, or you shouldn't do this, or you shouldn't know this, or you shouldn't, like, fuck that. If you know it, if you did it, whatever, you got one life, live it how you fucking want. Don't worry about everybody else. In the sense of what everybody else thinks. Societal views and constructs are designed to make everybody, you know, fall into some little, you know, idea of what it's supposed to be, like white picket fence, like fuck off. I don't have a picket fence. I got concrete, whatever. I don't give a shit. So that's just kind of how I look at it. Like you don't have to fit into a box. Nobody has to fit into a box. And if you're religious, well, God made us all different and he gave us free will. So there's fucking that. If he wanted us all the same, he would have made us all the same. And yeah, but other than that, I think that's pretty much all I want to talk about other than my website. Go check out my website, you guys. I'm quite proud of it. I'm so ecstatic that Dynamic AI Hub, which is my producer, Michael, created this and did it with such finesse and created it so that it's futuristic. The podcast will be going on to it sooner than later. Right, Michael? Right? So he wanted to make sure everything was going to work first. So far, it seems to be okay, but we're gonna work out the bugs and whatnot as things go on, if there are any, because he's pretty good at what he does. So I'd be surprised if there were a lot, if any at all. But every website, there's always going to be something, especially when you're working with AI and working with a lot of other techie shit. Because I don't know, Michael, like when he was talking about it, I'm not going to lie, kind of semi-glazed the fuck over when he was talking about it when we were on podcast the last time. And I was like, sure, whatever you say. I'm like, I don't know if GMO was a fucking joke or if if they're actually calling it. So I'm just going to shut up because I was like, GMO, genetically modified. So nobody can hear. I know they can't hear you. You're going to make me sound like a crazy person. But anyway, I'm not sure. I think it was a joke and I'm not sure, but I will find out. I'm sure he'll tell me after this podcast. But regardless, I'd love for you all to at least check it out. If you guys see anything and you think that there could be something done different, please email me, Lisa at lpmenterprises.net. And if there's anything wrong, email Michael. Okay. He is admin at dynamicaihub.com. So email him. I would love that. And then carbon copy me because I want to see it just so I can be like, I'm just kidding. Anyways, you guys have a wonderful week. And I guess I'll catch you guys on the flip side. And as always, don't do anything crazy.